we would like to give an official warm welcome to Vinnie Vesce. Right? Vinnie Vesce, running on the Republican ticket for mayor of Peekskill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And
now,
number of the lines.
the first question I got to just get it out the way.
Yes, sir.
You got to just get it out.
It's a hell of a day to be in studio, man.
Just get it out the way. I don't know the actual makeup of the registered voters of Peekskill the way I do Mount Vernon and Rochelle Yonkers.
Right.
But I do know the county is supposedly 2-1 or sometimes higher, Democrat to Republican. I know there's a large black votership in there, and you have a large black community in Peekskill. A lot of people, because of what's going on the national level, have a problem clicking the button for anybody who has a small R by their name right now.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
That's what my wife says to me all the time. What's wrong with you? But no, I appreciate AJ and Doc. Appreciate you having me in here, and you're right. And you're right. The tenor of national politics, and just so you know, and you're correct. The city of Peekskill is actually 3-1 Democrat to Republican.
Oh, 3-1, okay.
We do have a mix of independent and non-voters that make up a block of voters that could swing an election one way or the other. But being born and raised in Peekskill for the last 48 years, my family goes back 4 generations in the city of Peekskill. I grew up there. And we'll get into what I'm trying to do there as far as the makeup of our ticket. But the reality is, you're right. The partisanship these days and the tenor of national politics is really driving everybody into their corners, right? And so, what I found was I was on the city council in 2014 to 2017 with that same demographic voting. And I was elected narrowly, by the way, 3 votes. I think I won.
Wow!
Yeah.
Talk about every voting count.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
There's no question in the city of Peekskill, every vote does count. I did not run in the last election. I was on for 4 years on the city council, I had a decision whether I was going to run for mayor at that point or, go back into my business and do what I do in my private life. And at the time, I have kids in college and a young one that's in middle school now.
Right.
So, and my wife was looking at me like she is today saying, what are you doing? But I thought part of that was it was important for me that if I was going to get back into local politics, that I did it in a way that represented the community. And I say that meaning that, yes, I have a bipartisan ticket.
I did want to speak on that next.
Two of the gentlemen on my ticket, Marla Mahan and Louis Segarra, are registered Democrats, and myself and Lauren Brady are registered Republicans. And that's for a reason. One of the reasons is that I wanted the ticket to reflect a lot of the demographics of the community and appeal to those that feel they need representation in that community. And I think we did that with this ticket. And I did that because these are gentlemen that I've known for years and a woman who I've known her entire life that are dedicated to the city of Peekskill. And that's all that really matters to us in local politics. And listen, I was born into a Republican family,
right.
In the city of Peekskill. So, when you're 18, your father says, okay, you're a Republican. Right. And that's kind of the way it was. And, we're all around the same age. That's how we all grew up. And I'm sure the same thing happened for those on the other side. Does that mean that...
Except for people like me who left the Democratic Party, and I'm an independent, and I don't believe in the 2-party system, and I think it have a stranglehold on politics. And I want to see open primaries and all that other stuff. I'm an anomaly.
Listen, I kind of like the way the school boards do it, right? They run on their record. The people are individuals and not by their registration.
Right.
And I think locally, I really think that makes a big difference. But getting back to that, I think to put all that's going on to a Republican that is born and raised in New York State, born and raised in a city like the city of Peekskill, and has come up there, I think my values are probably a little different than a Republican's values, say, in Iowa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But you do understand, though, with the individual who's occupying the White House,
Yeah.
it makes it hard for anybody. Well, a lot of people, because you're going to need some of those people, obviously, who are Democrat to vote for you to win.
Correct.
Some African Americans maybe who are,
Yeah.
and right now a lot of Democrats cannot see being associated. A lot of people, period, can't see being associated with because of the person occupying the White House.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
And we've seen that in the midterm elections.
Yeah.
Where there was that was a referendum on him. A lot of those seats turned.
No question. No question.
So that's definitely a battle. But what I wanted to talk about was the ticket thing. I thought it was interesting. I ran it on Black Westchester when I got the press release about the bipartisan ticket,
Right.
and it was well received by a lot of people in Peekskill and outside. But I know in the last election, I believe, now again because I'm not from Peekskill, so I'm getting some information secondhand. I believe there was some misunderstandings where there was also a bipartisan ticket, and those candidates were trying to get signatures on the Democratic primary, leading people to believe they were running with the current mayor who was actually running at the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To get votes and stuff.
I'm familiar with the
so
issue.
I know there's some tension in Peekskill with that whole bipartisan thing, and I know you explained a little bit why you did that. If you could talk about that a little bit more in detail.
Right. So, and I'll get to that in a second. So we're also on the conservative line, which you could imagine.
Right,
we're
right,
also, Louis Segarra has been endorsed by the Libertarians, so he's on that line as well. And we're on the Independence line.
Okay.
So we have a number of lines that are representing different
Right.
constituencies. Getting back to
No, explain. Now we have a situation in Mount Vernon too, so we have a lot of Mount Vernon listeners. Explain why you're a Republican, a registered Republican,
Correct.
but that you are running on other lines. Why? Explain that a little bit.
So what you do is you speak to those party chairpersons and those that are within those parties. So the Libertarians, we went and we interviewed with the Conservative Party, we interviewed with the Independence Party, and then they make a determination to their board whether they also want to cross-endorse you. They're allowed to do that.
Right.
And then if nobody wants to primary you for those lines, so the first time I ran for election in 2014, it was 2013 for 14, the Independence Party actually endorsed the Democratic candidates we were running against.
Okay.
I
do remember that. Right.
And we were able to primary them and basically go out and get a number of signatures to get on the ballot, and then proxies to ballot. And then what they did was they held a primary election. We ended up winning that line in 2013.
So you won the Independence line in the primary.
in the last election prior to the one I ran in.
Right.
So you're able to, long story short, you're able to petition your constituencies within your township or city for that are registered independents or libertarian or whatever it may be, and try to get their line.
But that doesn't make you a libertarian. That doesn't make you an independent. You are a registered. There's a reason I'm saying this because of the situation in Mount Vernon.
But what it does is it tells people that, to your point, where you have that R next to your name and everybody's saying you're Donald Trump, right? It tells people that you may not be that hardline Republican, that you may have some independence values, you may have some libertarian values. On different issues, you have different opinions, right? So, and I agree. I think at some point, what is happening here in this country is tearing this country apart, and it just, the two-party system at some point, if it continues this way, how's it going to last, right?
Because it's like the Bloods and the Crips. I know Reggie Lafayette and other commissioners hate me to use that expression.
I was going to say, I'm sure not everyone.
but
You're good
I mean,
with me. I told you I'm from Peekskill.
Yeah. But it is that type of mentality. Like, you can't talk to them people, you can't mess with them people, you can't be seen with them. Like, they're the enemy. Like, they're the enemy. Like, you can't work with them. Like, it's a tribal mentality.
Going through this process too, it's the worst. And I tell you, just because I grew up in this community, my neighbors and my friends that have kids in the school, and they put these signs up. Everybody puts their signs up. I have neighbors, good friends of mine, that have Andre sign on their lawn.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm like, well, listen, you guys know my background, you know my history, you know what I do for a living. I said, what's the deal? Like, well, I'm a Democrat. I'm like, I understand that.
Right.
So do you put your blinders on, or do you just not care? Or you not focus on the issues? Do you not want to even have a conversation? And well, I'm sorry, I just, I can't do it. And to me, that's
right. Dr. Ba, I know you have some questions. I wanted to let you get your
Yeah,
questions in.
I was just curious, Vincent.
Yeah.
In seeking the lines of other parties, what kind of criteria, what policy issues served as the basis for them sort of reviewing, what a prospective Vesce administration would offer to the city, and why, therefore, might they have overlooked concerns about giving support to a Republican Party candidate? I mean, what did you offer?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know, that they found attractive, and whatever kind of reservation they might have had, they said, well, you know what, we've got to give the former councilman a shot to serve as the lead officer for the city.
So I think a few things. One is, it's not easy to get these, to get someone to endorse you, especially from another party. I think the Libertarian, which I didn't get, but Lewis did, and they were very selective. They only selected one of our slate, and we all interviewed with the same people. It was 80 questions.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's
not
a lot.
not
It's not
like
like
multiple choice. I'm talking about 80 questions where
Like
you had to
SAT
elaborate
stuff,
your
yeah.
issues on.
Yeah.
And the reality is also a lot of it is state and national issues that, as the mayor or council person in the city of Peekskill, you would never effectually make any decision that could affect that change. But I think they looked at a body of work that I had from 2014 to 2017 on the city council, where I was one of in the minority on that council that worked across the aisle and tried to just bring common sense approaches. I always didn't agree with our mayor or my other councilmen that were Republicans on it if it didn't make sense, and that's kind of the way I approach things. They also looked at what I do for a living. I was with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey for 15 years, so I have some state level experience in management. I'm in the airport business, so we run the airport system in New York, and I have my own business now, which is a consultant to companies that do business on airports throughout the country. So they looked at my expertise and the ability that and the information that I had on future development for the city of Peekskill, how we need to provide systems and management in City Hall that can serve all of the citizens of Peekskill and not just certain constituencies. And I can't speak for them. But there was enough of the process that went on there that, they made the decisions on how they did.
So before we go any further, I just want to, and always want to make sure for people that are just hearing from you, people want to know more about you, website, social media, how do people get in touch with you if they want to volunteer or just talk to you?
Yeah, it's peekskilltogether.com. I like your people over politics is we have our buttons about that because that's really what we're trying to provide to the city of Peekskill and the message we're trying to get out. I think if we're successful here in the city of Peekskill, that maybe this could be a way in which certain elections may go in the future. Then we're not, like you said, getting into our tribalism and getting into these corners, and we can really work together on issues that affect our communities with the best people that can have the ability to represent us and have the background to represent us,
So Peekskill Together, what, on Facebook? Or?
Yeah, we're on Facebook as well, and then also I'm on Facebook, Vincent Vesce for mayor of the city of Peekskill, as well as Lauren Brady, Louis Segarra, and Marlon Mahan.
Now, one last thing about the bipartisan ticket. I guess you're expecting a better result this turnaround than the last turnaround with the bipartisan thing.
Well, we would hope. I mean, I wasn't involved in the last election. I do know that a couple of the Democrats, Lewis, who also ran in the last election and is trying to do this again, who's really dedicated himself to the community. He's been living there about 20 years now and has a business in the city of Peekskill, which his business is minority and diversified businesses, and he represents companies that do a lot of work with state contracts. And you know the requirements that you have to have: 15% minority-owned business, 15% women-owned business to participate on state contracts. And Lewis's company, Crescent Companies, which is established and located in Peekskill, does two things. Also represents companies that fulfill those requirements. His company as well fulfills those requirements, and then he works for contracts with the state in an auditing perspective. So companies that say they're doing 15% with a minority company on a construction project, say at the airport, that they work for the state and making sure that they audit those contractors to do that.
One thing about, and it has nothing to do with you,
Yeah.
one thing about the whole minority contract thing that always bothered me is like, let's just say white women are considered a minority, so it doesn't
Right.
necessarily
Women
mean it's
don't,
going
right.
to Latinos and Hispanic,
Yep.
and African Americans.
Well-
You know what I'm saying? So
Well, they have a number of programs like Small Business Enterprise. They have a lot of set-asides. When I first came up in the business in 1997 working with the state, it was 5%, and it was best effort, you know. Today, it's mandated 15% women, 15% minority, could be 10% small business, depending on the project, but it's almost mandated. And if a company that goes to do business with the state cannot fulfill those requirements, the way in which they have to identify the efforts in which they put forth to get that they weren't able to do that is very hard to
no,
to
and I
overcome.
wasn't saying that they weren't qualified
Yeah.
candidates. What I was saying is a lot of people in the African American business community have complained that this is like more African American, more money should be set aside for African American businesses because that word minority includes white women, so it doesn't like trickle down to Hispanic businesses or African American businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
Well, on a
whatever that
women-owned business,
15%
it could
is,
be
yeah.
any nationality, right?
Yeah, right. But that's still a minority.
For an
That's still-
MBE,
Right.
an MBE, which is a minority business, could be any minority in the country.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, but I have seen, just so you know, I mean, I have seen, especially under this current administration in New York State, those numbers increase, and they increase on an annual basis.
I do want to just point out that the reason that women, irrespective of ethnicity or race, are included as a distinct category is because of the long-term history of discrimination against women in the United
Absolutely,
States,
and
including
gender
white
equality.
women. So
And gender equality. No, but I wasn't discounting them.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like,
It's still a concern.
yeah,
an
yeah,
issue,
like, when government sometimes says that we're 15% goes to minority businesses, you know what I'm saying? Maybe like 3% actually went to African American businesses, and you know what I'm saying? Because of that,
Yeah, they don't break it down into what type of
that has been a
nationality.
complaint. That's
Yeah.
all, and that's all that point I was making. Now, moving forward, so we never ask a candidate to trash their opponent, but if you're running for office, you obviously think that you could do a good job or often a better job than the person that is currently in office. So what is it that you would bring that you feel is not, and again, not by trashing, but
Right.
that you have to offer that, you are that candidate that they need to pull that lever
correct.
for?
And I think, and Andre's been on the show here, and
Right.
listen, I served on the city council with Andre in the last 2 years, and I think when we spoke on the phone, I was telling you, I said, we all grew up in Peekskill. I know his family. His uncles were in school with me. He's in school with my cousins. So, we don't have hate for each other. We've run a campaign, I think, in the city of Peekskill where outside of the people on Facebook, the candidates have a lot of respect for each other. And we're not looking to get into that type of an election cycle here where we're trashing each other. But that being said, being critical of someone and being negative of some of their policies or accomplishments is not in any way trying to trash them as an individual.
Right.
That being said, yes, I mean, I do believe just because of the amount of experience that I have in management and in business itself and life experience, that where Andre came onto the scene a few years ago, has always been involved in the community as someone who has been involved in the youth programs in the city of Peekskill and has been good for Peekskill. He got on the city council because of his popularity, and I think people have taken advantage of that in his party and utilized that to help them win certain electoral seats that maybe Andre may not have been qualified at the time. And I say that because I see what we were able to accomplish in the city of Peekskill when I was on the council. And if you look back just a few short couple years, these meetings are all televised. You can see who was contributing and who wasn't. And I don't think within a year and a half's time or 2 years' time that the amount of experience that Andre received on the city council has brought him to the level in which he is the mayor that you see out there today, right? So, without
Let me add on and rephrase the question slightly.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges is the city of Peekskill confronting today that the Rainey administration has not, for which there is something to be desired still, and you think the city would benefit from the kind of alternative policies
Right.
that you and your slate are advocating? What are some of those key areas?
So one of the areas is obviously growth and development. The city of Peekskill is the second most affordable community in the county of Westchester. The first development that that was brought to the table for Mayor Rainey and his council to address was that of an affordable housing project, and so much so where the project was 40% median income on the low end, all the way up to 80. And our argument would have been at the time where, for commercial growth in the city of Peekskill, you have to have a balanced approach to development. And I say that in a sense where we are already number 2 on the list, right, of most affordable, and we continue to drive more affordable housing into the community. Without the proper balance, we can't then grow our business and commercial businesses and districts due to the lack of those with disposable income being in the community to be able to keep those businesses in place. The other part of that is because we are number 2 on that list, we should be trying to develop opportunities for those that are in affordable housing that already live in the city of Peekskill, opportunities for job growth, opportunities for new jobs, and where we've seen very little commercial development in the city of Peekskill over the last 10 years. And we've seen restaurants, you see the flashy stuff, and the service industries grow. Retail's tough, everything's online, everything's Amazon, but there's opportunities like you have here in the city of Yonkers, where you had the Rose Hill or whatever.
Right, Rose Hill would be one.
Yeah, and we have a development now on our lower South Street where the city of Peekskill owned 13 acres of property. Another big issue is conservation and sustainability. Our elected officials currently talk about how important that is to them, but when they had an opportunity to put a solar farm or a energy storage redistribution center there on those properties, they have technically went out for bid for an RFP, didn't choose any one of the people that proposed for those projects, never canceled the bid, never put out a new RFP, and now is negotiating with another housing project to go down there on Lower South Street, which has an affordable component to it. Yeah, so they have 50,000 square feet of commercial space in that development. It's not enough. So I just think, it's all, I don't want to say a show, but there's a lot of photo ops, there's a lot of saying the right thing, but when you're behind closed doors and when the rubber meets the road and you're sitting between the guy who has $100 million or $50 million to develop in your community, does Andre Rainey have that skill set to make that negotiation? Does he have the life experience to make that negotiation? You know, listen, I'm not going to say he does because I know he doesn't. That's not to bash him. He just hasn't had the opportunity to be in the positions that I have been and the people that are on my slate have been in the professional world. And it's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican thing. It's just it's an experience thing.
I want to one thing I ask all, because I'm not in your district, your city, but I ask all candidates
We'd
that
like
I
to
come
have
across.
you come up, though.
Huh? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been up there a few times for a few things. The NAACP has invited me
Right.
and Damon up a few times. One of the main concerns for me, and I ask every candidate, no matter what they're running for, is what is your stance on criminal justice reform? Y'all don't have. I haven't heard too many, racial type issues. I've had the former Peekskill police chief come on and everything.
Eric says hello, by the way. I was with him last week.
Okay, yes.
I told him I
yes.
was coming to see you.
Yeah, so I know you don't have a lot of stuff like that, but I still we have a need for better criminal justice reform everywhere. So,
Right.
What is your stance on criminal justice reform?
Listen, I'm for it. I think we've done a lot of good things in the city of Peekskill to work with the community and trying to get us to a point where that isn't even an issue in the city of Peekskill. We are a very diverse community, as you guys know, and one of the newer things that we're doing in the city of Peekskill to help within that realm is the new drug court that we instituted in the city of Peekskill, which gives first-time offenders or people that are repeat offenders that have drug issues.
We have that in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, the opportunity.
Shout out to Judge Adrian Armstrong. He's listening.
Yeah, and Judge Johnson in the city of Peekskill, because that would give people the opportunity to get treatment before they're sent off to jail, right? So I think that there's as you all well know more than I do, a need for the reform, a need for the sentencing guidelines to be reduced for certain types of offenses, especially minor drug offenses, first-time offenses, things of that nature. So,
what about 1 second? Another problem plaguing a lot of communities of color is the recidivism and helping. Not really doing anything for the when they come back into society, preparing them, whether it's giving them better job skills or whatever. I mean, what do you have anything on your slate?
One of the things that I was, supported when I was on the city council was we have programs through our youth bureau, and that reaches out to young adults, I believe, all the way up to the age of 25. That are introduced back into society, that come back to the community, and they have a place where they can get training, or they can, get help acclimating themselves back into the community. One of the things that I think could work better is also bringing in the Hudson Valley Chamber of Commerce is located in the city of Peekskill, and I think a program through the Chamber of Commerce, which Lauren actually works at, that introduces them to opportunities with local businesses, and I was down to Building Trades, who represent a lot of our workforce, the apprenticeship programs through the unions that can be very helpful in that regard as well.
If elected, what would you do to help with that situation?
Yeah, I think, like I said, setting up programs with the Chamber of Commerce, setting up apprenticeship programs with the unions, that in concert with the City of Peekskill Youth Bureau, where we already have a program in place. We also have some opportunity where the Boys and Girls Club is looking to open up a chapter in the City of Peekskill, which is going to be another benefit to us of helping get to the youth prior to any of these issues ever having to be part of their lives, right? So I think that's going to be another very big positive issue that we're going to be tackling in the
Dr. Bob.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the issues that stands at the nexus between economic development and criminal justice issues is the legalization of marijuana. We've been having discussions about marijuana legalization, or at least decriminalization, in a number of states. And I know that in some of the circles that I'm a part of, one of the things that's bemoaned is the possibility that you're going to have essentially the most elite sectors of American society benefit as decriminalization takes off, reap all of the rewards. And then many of the groups that might have, forgive me, and everyone's going to understand, might have seen it as a more entrepreneurial opportunity when it was illegal. Now that it's being decriminalized, it's almost surely going to be shut out. And there's a tremendous irony in the fact that we'll have a marked expansion of the prison industrial complex, and just when things might shift a little. So you know what I'm trying to get at. I mean,
Yeah,
I know it's a controversial issue. I know local leaders are somewhat reluctant to really seriously consider that. I was just curious.
Yeah,
What's the thinking? Is it relevant?
I don't know how relevant it is.
Right.
It's, just because of any decision that I could potentially make there, that would not be one that we could have an effect on, right? So I don't make state law, I don't make federal law, I just follow the law, right? That being said, to tell you the truth, if they decriminalized it, I'm not so sure. Look, I'd have to really talk to people
right.
in the know. But just off the top of my head, I'm not so sure that I would be for for allowing a commercial activity within the city.
Okay.
Storefronts and such
Right.
like that, other than medical maybe or something like that.
So one last thing I wanted to ask you, especially when it comes to the Republican Party on a national level, is the stance on immigration, which has had a lot of people outraged. I don't know what the immigration situation is in Peekskill, but what is your stance as far as immigration reform, and all of that concern?
Well, I'll tell you, the city of Peekskill has, at least if you go by statistics with the school district, 65% of our school district is Latino now. So, we have a tremendous Hispanic community in the city of Peekskill, and one in which, Peekskill has always been that. My family came from Staten Island and Yonkers, the Italians and the Irish. My mother's from here from Ashburn Avenue, so, and they all moved up, and they were the immigrants back then. And I have a real affinity for them. On a national level, listen, I really think that our president has been disappointing in the way in which, if you look at it from a perspective of unifying this nation. Forget who you are, what you believe in. In my opinion, this president really is someone that, any president is someone that should be unifying all of us. And the fact that we are where we're at today in this country, with people like lining up and hating each other all the way down to the local level in the city of Peekskill or Yonkers or Mount Vernon, because of, like I said earlier, the tenor of what's going on in Washington, is something that us as human beings, especially coming from where we come from, I can't support those policies. I don't support those policies, and we'll do everything to protect those that are in at least the city of Peekskill, and our surrounding communities from any type of atrocity that we see on television, right? So, barring any illegal activity, and we can control what we can control within the confines of our community.
Now I got to put you on the spot real quick. This has nothing to do with your running or anything.
Yeah.
If not impeached, would you vote for him in 2020?
Depends on who's running against them.
Okay.
And I think that, a lot of Republicans, you'll tell you, look, this guy may not be our first choice for president, right? We're not saying we're in love with him just because we're Republicans and Donald Trump's in the White House. The Republicans I talk to are like, I just wish this guy would shut up and do his job. Or, it's just, and it's not because we don't, want to be labeled as Republicans and he's given us a bad name. He is. Yeah, he is. But like I said, he's not unifying this country. He's not doing anything good for the country as far as I'm concerned. But I think the Democrats got to do a better job of getting somebody that can, be more moderate, and it be somewhat acceptable, because there's a lot of Republicans that'll go in and vote for a Democrat that they feel over Donald Trump that has somewhat of their values or somewhat of their beliefs in mind, or at least keeps an open mind, and is not that far left, not that far right, and I think that's kind of the way I approach politics too. It's not about politics, not about running for election for the Republicans. I'm not doing it for the Republicans. I'm doing it for my community. I'm doing it for my neighbors and my friends that we grew up and lived there, and I just think I can do a better job,
So in closing, anything I didn't ask you, anything you want to announce about, anything you want people to know about you, again, how to get in touch with you, anything,
just,
why you're the person they should vote for.
Listen, just, pay attention to the issues, go back, watch how I performed on the city council, learn about the individuals at peekskilltogether.com, bringingpeekskilltogether.com, and, we have an uphill battle in the city of Peekskill. We're looking for everybody just to pay attention, keep an open mind, and do the right thing for your community, and we'll be happy with the results if that happens. So,
I thank you for coming. As I said on the phone, some Republicans are scared to come into the studio. I don't know why, like we're the boogeyman or something. like, oh no, don't go on that show. Yeah. Actually, we've had Democrats told from the board not to come on here too. Yeah. But we just try to ask the tough questions, and hopefully the listeners know a little bit more about you, and we're going to have the current mayor on as well following sometime in the future before the election, and then it's up to the people of Peekskill. Hopefully it will be more informed and can make an informed decision. I can't tell you who to vote for. I just tell you, though, it's very important that you do go out and vote. It's very important that you pay attention to the candidates and you vote for the candidate that you feel best serves your need or will do your community well. So I wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
I hope to see you back. If you win, I definitely want to have you come. Hope you will come back as mayor.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep.
Make sure your people keep sending me press releases or whatever and everything. So
yeah, we got to get to you by Friday. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, and that too. Yes, that too. Yes, that too.
So.
But,
all right.
But thank you for coming.
I really appreciate you having me, and I appreciate the support. So
absolutely,
thank you so much.
absolutely.
It's a pleasure having you on air.
And I apologize.